All right, I'm here with Neill Blomkamp, director of District 9. How you doing, Neil?
Good, yeah.
So District 9 is based upon your short film, Alive in Joburg. If you can tell us a little bit about that short project.
Well, Alive in Joburg was I was directing commercials at the time, and I had this kind of process that I kept doing just for creative, fun, really, was I would direct a commercial, and then I would do some sort of short film, and then I'd do a commercial, and then I'd do another short film. And Alive in Joburg was probably the biggest crazy short film that I did. And I went to my producer in Toronto and asked him if he'd put up some cash to let me shoot it in Johannesburg, and pay for a crew down there and stuff, based on a treatment that I wrote. Mm-hmm. And he did. So I think it was born out of the idea that I just wanted to see Western science fiction in South Africa. Mm-hmm. Western sci-fi, like where I grew up. And I just took one of the staples of science fiction, which is aliens coming to Earth, and then put it there. And very quickly I realized that because of, South Africa's sort of racially charged background, there would be a lot of interesting and delicate sort of topics that came out of that. Mm-hmm. So the short film obviously is just an experiment. It doesn't really go into that.
And I read there's actually a District 6.
Yeah,
is
District
that where
6
you got
in Cape Town? Yeah, that's where the name comes from.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously you have Peter Jackson on board of this project. Can you just talk a little bit about how you two hooked up and what the collaboration process was like?
Well, what happened was, like I was still doing commercials,
mm-hmm.
and my agent sent my stuff to Mary Parent, mm-hmm. and she was responsible for putting Halo together, mm-hmm. and Pete was already on board producing it, and she needed me to meet him. Like when she signed off on me, because I had a bunch of meetings with her, I flew down to New Zealand and met him, mm-hmm. and we got along, and I was so creatively interested in Halo. I mean, it has all of the ingredients of science fiction that I love, like mm-hmm. all of them. So I just was in my element. Like I'd been given a massive, awesome, huge film that also creatively was very cool, and I had a producer who was extremely powerful and mm-hmm. and was allowing me to do what I wanted to do on a creative level.
Were you into the game, or were you just into the kind of the animation that went into it, or was it just...
I was into the game,
right.
But that's not why. I mean, you don't there's other video games that I play as well
sure.
that I wouldn't want to make a film out of. So
sure.
It's just the all-encompassing sort of universe of Halo, like
mm-hmm.
this human industrial military complex
right.
that can either be viewed as the aggressor or just the sort of the victim of this Covenant onslaught. Mm-hmm. But it's just a very creative universe for me, and
mm-hmm.
and obviously for a lot of other people because it's so popular. So I worked on it for 5 months down there, and I mean, we were developing the script, and we were designing everything. We must have done thousands of designs. We started manufacturing certain things, and then they pulled the plug on it, and the whole thing imploded.
What were you manufacturing?
All of the weaponry and the outfits for the soldiers. We built one of the warthogs.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were underway. I mean,
right.
we were really going. Yeah.
Is there any chance, not to talk too much about Halo or whatever, but is there any chance that that project may still happen in the future?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of different components to it. I think that Microsoft has retained the control over the project. So I think it's gone away from Fox and Universal, and
mm-hmm.
and so that instantly means that any construct, that is sort of rebuilt to make the film would be automatically different from how it was when I was involved, for
mm-hmm.
one. And for me, it's difficult to spend 5 months pouring yourself into something and have the rug pulled out from underneath you.
Absolutely.
So I love Halo and I love the world, but it would be difficult for me to kind of get back into that. It's just,
right.
Just sort of, it's not easy. So
right.
I don't know. Right now, I just want to develop my own new stuff.
So back to District 9, the marketing campaign has been kind of crazy, and it's very unique. You see these billboards.
Yeah, it's very sort of emotive though as well, like
right.
these kind of segregative billboards in America.
Because I felt like I didn't even know what it was. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, what's, I didn't know if it was for some animal rights thing, or I didn't know what it was. Were you involved at all with the marketing campaign, with this humans only?
Yeah, well,
campaign?
What happened was, Sony's marketing team has done like a really awesome job,
mm-hmm.
And what they did was they took all of the artwork and everything from our film,
mm-hmm.
and they looked at all of it, and then they came back to, they always show Pete and I everything. Mm-hmm. the good thing is that they just automatically got it right away. They got the essence of the film, and the sort of the billboards that you see everywhere with the no humans on the bus, or sorry, the no non-humans on the bus, and the segregative stuff. A lot of those designs came out of the artwork for signs we were going to put in the movie, just in the background, which are in the movie. So they took the elements that they thought would work. They gave us this whole presentation, and then I felt like they had just nailed the essence of the movie, and just went with it from there.
And speaking of design, do you you obviously have experience in visual effects and animation. How involved were you in the design of these aliens? And
I was very involved.
Yeah.
I mean, the aliens are designed by pretty much one person at Weta Workshop in New Zealand, and they're executed by Image Engine in Vancouver, who brought them to life. And I was really, really involved in there was a few sort of criteria that needed to be met, and I wanted them to be insect, but I wanted them to be bipedal. They had to, unfortunately, they had to be human-esque, because our psychology just doesn't allow us, I think, to really empathize with something unless it has a face and kind of an anthropomorphic shape. I think you can do it with animals and things, but I think that humans, the psychology of humans, if you see something that's four-legged, you'll kind of think it's a dog, or it's just how we're wired. So that drove me mental in the beginning, was the fact that I felt like I had to kind of give in to this Hollywood cliche. But that's just the way it goes. If you make a film about an alien force which is the oppressor or is aggressive, and you don't need to sort of empathize with them, and you don't need to look into their eyes, you can go absolutely to town, And so creatively, that's what I felt I wanted to do, but story-wise, I couldn't. But having said that, I ended up with this kind of, I wanted them to be insect, and I love the way that they look. I think they look like you can see that there's a sentient creature behind there, but you don't want to sit next to it on the bus, which is exactly what the brief was,
What were some of your biggest sci-fi alien influences, growing up?
Well, I mean, probably the biggest ones would be, it's really just Ridley Scott's Alien and Cameron's Aliens, I think. It's the alien itself, H.R. Giger's Alien. I was literally obsessed with that as a kid. So that's the biggest one for sure. I mean, that just got me interested in aliens. But all of those kind of, the whole science fiction spectrum of films that fit into that group. I'm a fan of pretty much all of them. I just love science fiction, and I love creature films, and I'm a huge fan. And
I guess my final question is obviously there's the parallels with apartheid in South Africa and this District 9. What do you, is there a message, an overall or an undertone that you're kind of going for with this movie, or?
Well, yes and no. The most important thing for me to do was to make a film that I think audiences would find compelling. They went and bought a ticket to watch a film that keeps them engaged and is compelling. And I think that if you make a film that's very political and very you're really taking a stand, then you run the risk of making a film that might lose most of those audience members. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to make a science fiction film that had the structure of it would be this apartheid South African background that I grew up in. And I would have this veneer of science fiction on the top of it that would make, hopefully, for a compelling, engaging story.
Has there been any kind of reaction in South Africa to the project, or?
Not really. I mean, obviously it hasn't come out there yet, and I think there's very limited amounts of sort of knowledge about it. I don't know how they're going to take it.
Did you shoot it in?
Yeah, it's all Johannesburg.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Well, thank you very much for the interview, and good luck with the film.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Yeah.